Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Ascension Playground. This is part two of a conversation I'm having with myself about what is it with a Starlight Report? Like, what is it if you received a report of the stars that captured the moment of your birth, both from the date and the time, but also the geography and the coordinates? What were those fixed stars that were rising, setting, etc.? So, in the first video I did just recently, I talked about the heliacal rising and setting stars. These stars act like spirit guides for you throughout your life. So, my first desire for you, if you choose to engage with this mythology and star stories, is to get to know those two stars first and see if it rings true. I think when you think of yourself as a child, a young adult, a teenager, that's actually where I think some of the stories of the stars will show up the strongest. It's when we're unfiltered and still learning before we get homogenized into our community and culture. Okay, so the second part is about finding out if you have any stars that were on what's called the axis of matter, the cross of matter, according to Bernadette Brady. It's this idea of spirit, that first axis coming down onto the horizon of matter, of Earth. So in astrology, we say that is your ascendant and descendant, but it's also your midheaven and IC. So, in terms of star stories, were there any stars within orb or close enough to one of those points? If so, it's going to act almost like a filter or a piece of glass that you're going to see throughout most of your life, and maybe even how other people see you. So, in this beautiful idea of trying to create cosmic portraiture, let's see if you have in your star report any stars that are on one of the angles of the cross of matter. Let me share my screen. Here we go. So, this is after the heliacal setting star. You'll see a paragraph about stars that were on the angles at the moment of your birth. So Bernadette goes on to say that if you do have one of these stars on an angle, it could help shape how you see things in the material world, depending on how it is showing up for you physically, emotionally, or financially. The star will have a strong influence on your lifestyle. So I looked at mine, and gosh, I have a lot on these points of the cross of matter. Again, the line that comes down from the heavens, your midheaven and IC, and then it meets the horizon line, which is 3D of the ascendant and descendant. All right. So the first star that I have that I carry with me like a piece of glass is the beautiful fixed star called Alkes. Alkes is the crater or the cup. It sits actually on the back of that big giant water snake called Hydra. So on Hydra constellation, the back of the snake, you'll see this cup or chalice. And that star showed up very strongly on my birth moment. So what does it mean? According to Bernadette, Alkes represents this idea of representing a concept or an archetype. Interesting, right? So I had to think, what archetype or concept did I carry with me growing up? And right away, in a family of 7 kids, where I got the most attention truly from my mom and my dad, but mostly my mom, was around art. So painting and having my art shown in the principal's office in grade school was a big deal. And I felt the warmth and love and the admiration of my mother and my colleagues in grade school. So I think I carried that representation of Ursula the artist. Okay. And later I went to study in college and high school. I studied drawing and painting. And so, yeah, I studied art and got my degrees in painting and drawing. But this is a concept that I'm carrying with me. So, this crater or cup, perhaps one of the archetypes was Ursula the artist. But it's interesting that even in my 20s and 30s, I didn't believe it about myself. So that projection of Ursula as the artist, people pointing at me, being creative, but did I believe it myself? That took a lot of time. And I think that was connected to my hero's journey of, well, how do you know you're an artist? I like painting, I like drawing, I've studied it, but is it really the soul of an artist that I was trying to sit with? And, even in my 30s, I had a professional artist look at me and say, well, you know who you are. And I'm like, right. I don't think so. I know there's more. So it's this idea of I wasn't ready to be limited by a label. And so I think that's probably what's guided me most of my life is the question, well, who and what am I truly? An artist, if I teach it, if I do it, do I become it? It wasn't enough. So, this idea of alkeys, that crater, this is the chalice. This is the representative of the Holy Grail in some ways. Again, it's like a feminine cup, a chalice. What are you carrying? What are we seeing you as carrying? And so remember, every star has its bright side and then its shadow. So the light casts a shadow. So, what's the shadow of alkeys? Well, it might be that other people see you a certain way, but you're not that. Like, I remember being part of the born again Christian movement for a part of my life. And when I knew I really couldn't fully embrace the doctrine of membership, because I thought, well, gosh, how is it all these other people aren't going to get into heaven? It just didn't sit with me. So I think there was a time I was seen as a Christian in that membership group, but it just didn't hold true. And so today, of course, I've become a whole other. It just took time to step out and say, I know there's more. And I don't think Jesus would say, all those people are going to hell if we don't believe in you. Right. So there's that. So I know I'm digressing, but I'm showing you an example of if you have alkeys and it's part of your stars that are connected to some planets at the moment of your birth, sit with this idea of how do projections lead to difficulties or challenges? And for me, it's this idea of no matter what is projected on me, I sit well knowing who I am now. It's taken a while, but I know who I am. Okay, so it's all right. I'm star stuff and then some. Okay, so what's the next star? Because you might have the star associated with you at birth as well. And it's in the constellation of the winged horse of Jupiter called Pegasus. And the fixed star's name is Markov. Okay, so Markov. So the location of the star on a constellation oftentimes carries great metaphoric meaning. This is sitting on what's called the saddle of the horse. So that tells me a saddle is usually helping keep things from falling off. So this idea of structure um, and being able to hold space, hold steady. So let's see what Bernadette says. She says, throughout my life, I'm going to have this part or this piece of a lens that people will see me as having great physical and mental endurance, plus reliability. That one kind of rings true. I think I am steady and 1 foot at a time and show me the proof or let me make my own decisions. Thank you very much. So the good side is this idea of holding steady, especially during crises. Let's just anchor and root in. What do we know? It's like, the EMT. What do we know? Okay. What are the facts? And let's not get too excited or ahead of ourselves. The shadow side, though, is this idea of stubbornness. Yeah. Well, when I kind of lock into something, until I release it, it's really hard for others to, encourage me to let go. So I have to kind of figure it out myself. So stubbornness, but on the other side, it's this idea of, yeah, leadership potential because you're holding strong and you might have an answer that can help other people. Okay, so that's Markov. Now, the next one, and I have a friend named Janet, and she was reading my natal star report, and she's like, gosh, you have a lot of stars that are about battle. Well, this next star that's with me my whole life is the tip of the horn of the great bull in the celestial heavens. So the constellation is Taurus, and El Noth is the tip of the horn of the bull. So it's like, like I'm going to get you. So Bernadette says if you have this and it's aligned with one of your planets, that assertiveness as a lifestyle to confront or to suffer as a result of the cruelty of life. Hmm. So I think back about myself in junior high. And yes, I was a tomboy. And I thought, I'm going to get up early and I'm going to go play handball. And so we played handball in the courts. And I was the only girl, but I could win a lot. And so that physical and mental endurance, being on swim team, yes, getting into ASB and being president of my class of 2000. Um, yeah, it was there. But confrontation of the cruelty of life. Yeah, raised in my home, it was this idea of can't we all just talk about it? Like mom and dad, what happened? What was that? So there wasn't the nurturance or the environment for having discussions like that. But I think it got me into a lot of trouble. Um, that tip of my horn, the point of attack. So I think, especially when it comes to having children and being willing to advocate for kids with special needs, like, yeah, sometimes you have to get that little horn out and say, this child deserves support, and we're going to get the full support that he or she needs and deserves within the system. So, hmm. So a saddle, a cup, and a horn. And it doesn't stop there. Looks like I had a lot of stars with my cross of matter. So I've got a lion's tail and a left shoulder of a hunter or a god. So if you want to still listen, I can share with you. In case you have Denebula, this sits in the constellation of Leo, the lion. So it's the tail, right? And the lion story in the heavens, this represents what's called the Nemean lion or Nemean. It's a place in Greece. And the story is this lion was birthed and would just create havoc in that area of Nemea. And its fur or its coat was impenetrable or impermeable to any weapons. So basically could just go kill and eat and maim at will. So the tail has a little tuft of that fur, right? So Bernadette says if you have Denebula in your or Paran to one of your planets, it could be a lifestyle of struggling against establishment thinking. Like, please don't tell me how to think. Please don't tell me how to live. Don't tell me what to wear. Don't tell me how to talk or how to be or, just all that. And I would say, yeah, I tried to normalize. I tried to fit in. I tried to be the good Ursula, the good student, the good daughter, the good wife, the good mother. And guess what? I just, at the end of it all, just had to find my own path. So, whatever establishment thinking, I mean, it's easy for me to use the church analogy. That's like, yeah, maybe one day I was a church lady until I wasn't. Or as Danny Shay says, a recovering Catholic. I was a good Catholic until I wasn't, because sometimes there's something else calling you into your own alignment, into your own knowing of who you are and who you're not. So the tail of the lion, think of it whipping around, right? Chasing off those flies. But let's see, it's This star helps me see the world differently. And I kind of knew I was different. I could fit in, I could be a sheep, but underneath, I wasn't a sheep. I was something quite different. And I knew that. And I've taken off the sheep clothing and I think I'm being a little different now on the Ascension Playground. Okay, so that's basically it. Everyone's going this way, I'm going to go the other way. I don't know. It's part of my stars in my Starlight Report, right? So this next star, Bellatrix. Now, if you've all watched Harry Potter, you know Bellatrix. So it represents more the feminine side. It's the left shoulder of the god. So the right shoulder gets to have success easy. It's the shoulder the right shoulder's holding the spear and it's going to go hunt. But that other shoulder, Bellatrix, on the asterism of Orion, the hunter, the god. Um, yeah, I'm going to be successful, but it's going to take a path around the shadows and working through the dark nights of the soul. So it does say a battler. So it's so funny because when I look at how was life growing up with 7 kids, four sisters and 2 brothers, and it was not easy. And yeah, I kind of like the quiet I'm able to sit in today. But growing up, it was a really busy household. Anyway, if you have Bellatrix in some Puran to your planets or your birth moment, you could have what they call the Amazon star. So I say the light word of tomboy, but no, this is Amazon. This is the fight. Here, I guess I'm going a little too fast. Here we go. Star of the female warrior, conqueror, the roaring conqueror. So first I had a lion's tail, and now with Bellatrix on that left shoulder, um, yeah, understanding that success does have a price tag, So to be born with the star on the angle, um, it's advancement and achievement, but it's won through struggle and dealing with the harder side of life almost on a daily level. Great. So, I'm carrying this around a daily level, really. There are no lucky breaks, no free rides, but great victories will come by being prepared to battle it out day by day. That's funny. And those are all the stars I'm going to be talking about today. But Bellatrix, thank you. No free ride. Um, yeah, I don't know if the battle is so much outside myself today. It has probably gone inside myself. And so some of that stinky thinking that happens, yeah, if you have Bellatrix, sometimes like if your parents are now not on the planet, but there's that tape that's still going on, are you good enough? What are you talking about? Maybe you shouldn't be talking so much, you know, uh, go ahead and try and make me, but here we go. So if the negative tapes are in you and limiting your light of beingness, being who you truly are, being your full magnificence and radiance, if you have Bellatrix again in Puran to one of your points of light in this, 3D incarnation, then sit for a moment and go, thank you, shadows. I didn't choose the easy way. I have the Amazon star. And whether I'm male or female, I embrace the divine masculine and the divine feminine in my inner being. Because guess what? I really think in this matrix of 3D that we're all living in, I believe we're going to be laughing a lot when we cross over because it's all been about not the other bad person outside myself so much as it is as thank you. It's something that's showing up in me, and I'm looking in the mirror and I can adjust slowly, slowly adjust so that I can be lighter, so that I can embrace 2025 from my heart chakra of living lighter and greeting this new vibrational epic moment of transformation, right? Into this new age of light, how to live lighter. So I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank the stars. I'm going to come back if you want to know a little bit more about what it means to have the stars of your childhood and early life. And we're going to kind of go through your life journey and see where you are at, and then read that part of your report. Okay, thanks for listening. I'll see you later on the Ascension Playground. Bye for now. Just wanted to give a special thank you to you for listening and for your sweet comments. It does encourage me to keep going. I do have this special time available right now, but as life ebbs and flows, I'm just going with what feels right in the moment. So thank you, everybody. I hold the playground from my heart that when time allows, we show up, we play, and then sometimes we have to go back to school or to work or home for a meal. So thank you, everybody. And I appreciate any of you who are choosing to subscribe. See you next time on the Ascension Playground. Bye for now.